I'm going to explain how to create your own pattern to fill an object. So this object has no fill currently, but I created a pattern which is based on the stripes 1-to-1, and it's falling stripes. So the stripes are 45 degrees and they're thinner. So we're going to go through how to create a similar pattern, but with the stripes 180 degrees perpendicular to these stripes, and also with a larger white space. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find your patterns.svg file, and it's within Program Files and Inkscape, and this is not going to be existent in your directory unless you create it. This is the original list of patterns, and that includes all the white ones. So I got rid of them, and what we're going to do is open with, I use Notepad++, but some text editor, and we really need to be able to be running Notepad++ as administrator, but we have it loaded so that when we run it as administrator, it'll be there. So go to Start and run Notepad++ as administrator by right-clicking, and here it is. So now if we make a change, it should hold. So what we're going to want to do is find that stripes 1-to-1. So here it is. This is the name that shows up in that list, the stock ID. So just copy this whole thing, and you can put it anywhere as long as it's following this format where the pattern and the caret keys are there. So what we need to do is change this stock ID name. So the name in the list is going to now be Rising Stripes, and you need to make sure to change the ID to something unique. And then what we want to do is change the scale to get those smaller stripes and rotate, and this time it's going to be -45, so the stripes are rising. And if we want to add white space between those lines, just change the width. So this is the width of essentially the whole box that you're working with, and then the fill has a width of 1 in this case, so it'll be 1 black stripe for every 3 full stripes. So 1 black and 2 white, and then it will repeat. So that's good, and then I'm saving, and I can close Notepad. So I just restarted Inkscape. You actually have to close it out. You can't just reopen the file. You have to restart the program, and that reloads the patterns.svg file that we modified. This one here. So in Inkscape now, if we select an object and we fill with a pattern, the rising stripes should be existent, and this is exactly how we described it. We have our perpendicular lines as opposed to these ones where they're falling, and here the white space is a little bit larger. So this is a preferred method over creating your own hatch patterns with the built-in Alt-I, where you can, where is it here, object, there's a way to make a pattern with objects here, and I'm just going to show you real quick why that is not the best option. So if we want to create something like this pattern, we'll just zoom in here, and I'm just going to draw a few lines, and you'll see why I'm drawing these lines the way they are shortly. I need to make a pattern that's seamless. So I'm working with a cube, and when it's repeated, when it's tiled, the pattern will be repeating. So I want it to be filled without a stroke. So this pattern goes right up to the edge of this cube. So you'd think it would produce the same exact pattern. Maybe it's just a little bit of a different scale. But when we do Alt-I, we create a pattern. The pattern is 4625. So if we're to apply that, you can change that pattern name, by the way, in the XML code here. 4625. If you want to create your own patterns, you can do it this way. you'll see shortly that doesn't work perfectly. So you have to go in here and click on the ID, change the ID to something without spaces. So and then Control Enter will save that. Okay, so now if we want to fill this object with that pattern, it should be here. It's going to be above this gray bar though, because it's not within patterns.svg. So here it is, non-seamless falling stripes, and it looks pretty good, but there is an issue with like the grid. It looks like grid lines, but when you export this figure, these lines do show up. So if I were to select this, Control-Shift-E to export, and I want to export the selection, and at this view you can sort of see that there are like white lines in between each one of these tiles that we created, whereas with this type of pattern there are no white lines. So it's not really that big of a deal, but it is nice to be able to have the patterns defined in each new document that you create, and it just organizes everything a little bit better.